do this.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Beth.
And I'm Stainy.
And you're listening to Mixed Politics. Welcome to episode 32.
Wow.
Yeah. 32. Yep.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
We're in the 30s?
Yes, we are.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm keeping it simple. Actually, I might switch halfway through, but I'm starting with just a rum and Coke.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been a rough week for a lot of people.
Very
and
vanilla tonight.
Yeah, we're just gonna go with tried and true because
Yeah.
who the fuck knows?
We got enough of a mess of a topic tonight. We're gonna need some vanilla around here.
And for those of you who are assuming that we're gonna be talking about Roe v. Wade and contraception and interracial marriage and what's the other thing that's under fire?
Well, marriage equality.
Marriage equality. There's something else. It was contraception. Sterilization. And something else. We're not talking about any of those.
We already talked about it.
We sure did. So, what are you drinking tonight, Beth?
I am also going very vanilla tonight. I am just drinking a pina colada.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Wanted to just make it simple. I think we were on the same page without even talking about it. We were on the same page.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't have the energy for whipping up crazy tonight. It's already crazy.
It's been a crazy couple of weeks. So
and to our female listeners, I'm so sorry. Mm-hmm. I tried my best, man, and I'm still trying my best, but just right now it's just kind of very discouraging. So yeah. So what we're gonna do is not talk about that because that's a dead horse that's just been getting flogged all week.
Yes.
What are we talking about tonight, Beth?
What's going on with the Texas GOP platform?
Yes.
Yeah, this should be fun. Maybe it'll be a little bit of a distraction from what else is going on right now because, yes, ladies, it's been rough. Mm-hmm. But we're going to have a little fun tonight.
I hope so. So one of the reasons why this topic is important is because if you do follow American politics, you know that, how's the saying go in America here? As goes Texas, so goes the rest of the bullshit.
The bullshit, yes.
So whatever Texas is doing, we know for a fact that Florida's right behind, because that's just been the case.
Yeah.
And then after Florida, it'll be Utah, Arizona, they just
every other
Bible
state.
Belt. Yeah. So one of the reasons why we're talking about that is because Texas is a flagship. Yes. Texas is the Santa Maria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's just tell you what happened in case you missed it. Even if you might have heard about it before, the Roe v. Wade thing, that overshadowed this. There was a GOP convention in Texas recently, and they adopted an entire platform, and it was 40 pages long. Mm-hmm. I went online the day I found out about this, and I was like, Stainy, I'm going to go read this. Yeah. And he's like, are you crazy? Yes, I am. I was
like, you're in for a bad time. Like, you're setting yourself up for a terrible time.
But then I was like, we need to do a whole episode about this, because it's fucked up.
Oh, my God.
So we're going to go through our favorite parts, or the ones that we think are most controversial. And
there are a lot.
There's a lot. It was hard
we can't do all of that in one episode.
No,
right now.
it was so hard to choose because this thing is a train wreck. It was almost like so many different people, hundreds of people, wrote down a couple sentences and they just mushed them all together like a word salad. There are things in here that conflict one another sentence after sentence. There are things that are repeated in here twice because they apparently didn't proofread.
Yeah.
There's some grammatical errors. But this is the official GOP platform of Texas, so we have to just, we have to embrace it as is.
And like I just want to reiterate, this is very important because they like to copy and paste. The GOP, they really do like to copy and paste.
Yes.
And the thing of it is, when I read it, because I was reading it in conjunction with something else that was like referencing, you need to check this out, you need to look at this, these are important. And it was like, it was showing that it's not much different from the 2016
version of the platform.
The presidential or the national GOP platform?
No, the Texas one.
Oh, the Texas one is the same. Okay.
Not that different from the previous Texas one in terms of like the structure, in terms of like what are we doing first, second, third, whatever, what's important, blah 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 blah. But and it was not that different from the 2020 either. Mm-hmm. The only difference is that a lot of things got worse. Like it was like the milder version. It's just like, well, we kind of just grab the volume button on the racism, on the misogyny, on the xenophobia, and just like, well, we forgot to disenfranchise these people last time, so let's,
And what we're going to discover in this episode, and if you're not sure this is for you, please stick around. No, stick around, because we're going to show you what happens when you're so strong in your platform, but you forgot to read the fine print. This shit's great. We're gonna show.
Is it that they don't have proofreaders, or they just?
No, they actually forgot to read the stuff that they're referring to.
Ah, I see what you
They're
mean.
like, we love all this stuff over here, but they didn't read this stuff.
It's like when Justice Breyer told Kavanaugh, you might need to go read these fucking cases that you're referencing. So the cases that you're referencing is in opposition to what you're planning to.
Exactly.
All right,
Okay, so we're going to start off with the preamble. I'm going to read some parts of this. Let me just take you through my thought process. This is how, when I start to read something, these are the questions that I ask when I'm going through. The preamble says, affirming our belief in God. Which God? It doesn't say.
All hail Satan.
I doubt they believe that, but it doesn't say which God. We all know which God they're talking about, but it doesn't say that here. Affirming our belief in God, we still hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator. Does this sound familiar? They're kind of copying from something else.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. We strive to preserve the freedom given to us by God. Which God? Implemented by our founding fathers and embodied in the Constitution. We recognize that human nature is immutable. And I'm thinking, what, you think human nature has never changed over time, but okay. And we further recognize that the traditional family is the strength of our nation. And I'm thinking, whose tradition? The Native Americans' tradition in their family unit? I doubt that's what they're talking about, but they don't clarify.
Okay. Oh my God, it's getting hard already.
I know.
Go on.
Yeah. It is our solemn duty to protect innocent life and develop responsible citizens. Now I'm going to stop on the innocent life. This is where things kind of get relevant to today. They are talking about innocent life. Now, their religion in the Republican Party, they're predominantly Christian, so we'll just kind of latch on to that. We'll say those that are of that faith believe that everybody's born a sinner. So technically there is no innocent life.
Oh my God.
Right?
I think, oh my God, this is the second of my oh my God.
And we're in the first paragraph.
Oh my God.
So, and then they don't define what responsible means for responsible citizens.
Because that's subjective.
Completely subjective. So this is not even the full first paragraph, but that's basically the first paragraph. Yeah. See how many threads I'm pulling at already that I'm thinking, y'all think this is solid? It ain't solid. This does not clarify anything. All it does is create confusion.
Yeah.
But we all know what they think that they mean because they talk about it all the time on television about its traditional Christian values and this and that and the other. But when it comes to their language, it's extremely vague.
Yeah.
And if you're going to write a platform, you have to be very specific about what you mean.
Yeah.
So,
but you know what though? Just to play devil's advocate for fucking Texas's sake, do you have to be very specific? Because it's not like you can use the platform in like a court of law or anything like any form of jurisdiction.
No.
It's just a document that says this is what our collective hive mind believes or thinks or wants.
So if you think of this in the way that people do coding, they have a white list and a black list. Generally speaking, if you want to just say, let my software do everything except this little thing over here, then obviously the right thing to do is make a blacklist. Say, allow everything, not these things. Everything else goes through, everything else is allowed. The GOP is taking the opposite approach. They want the whitelist. So and trust me, I hate those terms, blacklist and whitelist, but they are what they are.
Go on. I was I was right there. I was like, yes, they do want the whitelist.
They do want the whitelist. But when you talk about that, that's the approach that they're taking to everything, to their platform, to their legislation, to everything, is they say, we want to dictate exactly what is allowed. And therefore, you have to ask these questions. It can't be vague.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing the whitelist approach where we do these things and only these things, everything else is blocked, then you kind of do have to be very specific and accurate in this. And they're making a lot of vague statements here about traditional family. I'm going to call bullshit on that because traditional family is very vague.
And terrible for a lot of the women in Texas.
Yes, exactly. So
all of them immediately are now unemployed.
Yes.
Yes. Immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Traditional family, unemployed.
And so then we move into the principles, and they have 12 things. I think that's it. No, sorry, they've got many more things, but they have a list of things that they believe are the core of the Texas Republican Party. And I think it's really hysterical. This is where they fail to read the actual documents they're deferring to. The laws of nature and nature's God. We support the strict adherence to the original language and intent of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitutions of the United States and of Texas.
Can we just pause right there?
Mm-hmm.
So, the original Constitution, that does not include the amendments? Or does that include the amendments? Because the original is not amended.
The Bill of Rights was added 3 years later,
right.
But technically people add the first 10 amendments as part of the original Constitution.
Okay.
So we'll assume that we're including the Bill of Rights.
We'll give them that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we're following this platform, and I live in Texas, I'm 3/5 of a person.
Yes, you are.
First of all.
You can't vote. I can't vote. We can't own property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of fucking platform is this?
It's terrible.
Like we want to go back to the original Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing though, Texas. Me and a bunch of people, millions of people like me, we ain't our grandparents.
Exactly.
I will shoot you in the fucking face. You try me.
I wouldn't recommend that. But
if you try to take my freedoms, this ain't the 1600s.
Well, see, Texans would probably agree with you on that, but I don't think that they think that people will reciprocate. So,
because what this is saying is that we gonna go back to slavery.
Yes, you're a 3/5 of the person,
right? And I'm not going back to slavery. I would rather die.
The fact that doesn't occur to them that that's actually a bad thing, that tells you everything you need to know. The mistakes in this are plentiful.
Strict adherence to the original language
and intent.
Hey man, fuck you.
It gets better. It gets better. Because that's the obvious. The obvious thing is we don't have any of the other 17 amendments that were added after the first 10. We don't have anything that has happened with respect to the right to privacy, which is now being stripped anyways. You don't have the right to vote. You're not an actual free person. I don't have the right to vote. Those are the obvious problems with this. But let me tell you what Texas missed. Mm-hmm. This is my favorite. They forgot to read their original Texas Constitution. Because in the original Texas Constitution, Article 6, talking about suffrage, idiots and lunatics and paupers can't vote.
I didn't want to laugh.
We were laughing about that.
Because that was one of the first things I read when I read the original Texas Constitution. Yes. And it outlined who was allowed to vote.
Yes. So the first thing that was funny was the idiots and lunatics and paupers can't vote. Then the soldiers, Marines, and seamen cannot vote. Would anybody think that Texas would have done that in the original Constitution? It might have made sense back then, but this current 2022 GOP platform says we want the original text of the Texas Constitution, which says people in military service cannot vote. And it gets worse. Every male of foreign birth who shall have declared intent to become a citizen is allowed to vote so long as they live in the state for 1 year before the election. And Section 4 of Article 6 says, no law shall ever be enacted requiring a registration of voters in this state.
So, you don't have to register to vote. You don't have to even be American. You could fly here from Belgium, live in Texas for 1 year, still be a Belgian citizen.
Yes.
But
have said to some government agency, I plan to be a Texan at some point. Scout's honor.
Yeah.
And then I now can vote, which means every single undocumented immigrant who's a male over 21 in Texas can vote.
Yeah.
I don't think they want that.
I don't think they do either, which is why it's so funny.
Oh, God.
This is what happens when you're not educated about your own actual history. When you romanticize...
Do your research.
Yes. Do your research.
Right.
Yes. So the original text of the Constitution, even the United States Constitution, also does not have one thing that they put here later in this. They, under religious freedom of speech and practice, it says, as America is one nation under God. Yeah, one nation under God was added in 1952, guys. You got to know your history.
That's not the original.
It's not the original anything. It's not the original founding documents.
1952. Who was president?
It was Eisenhower.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yes, it was the anti-communist movement. McCarthyism was very strong, and so one nation under God. In the Pledge of Allegiance. Fun fact: if you watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, when they're all saying the Pledge of Allegiance because Aunt Bethany's leading them in the Pledge of Allegiance, listen to what she says. She says, "One nation, indivisible." She doesn't say under God because her brain is back pre-1952.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good little Easter egg.
Yes, it's an Easter egg. Okay. So, one nation under God. It was not always that. Under God was added in the anti-communist movement of the 1950s. So there you go.
Were the communists not God-fearing people?
That's what they believed. That they were
Or that's what they sold.
Yes, they sold an answer. Which God? I'm sure the communists might. Some of them might praise a God.
It'd be so funny to be up there in the Texas Assembly, like all hail Beelzebub.
It's like they don't even read this shit. They just walk around with these delusions, but they pretend that we can't read and we can't do our research. Wow. So yeah, that's fun. So states' rights. This is a big issue for conservatives, big issue for the Republican Party. They're always talking about states' rights. And I find it very funny that of all the things that they could talk about with their sovereignty, they sure have a lot to say for what other states can do. So they want to keep the sovereignty of their state.
Yeah.
And they also want the protections of the reciprocity of gun ownership in other states. So essentially, if you have, they call it national reciprocity. If you own a gun legally in Texas, they want Oklahoma to recognize your gun ownership as also legal in Oklahoma. They want the reciprocity. If you're legal to carry in Texas, you're legal to carry anywhere. Yet they are championing state sovereignty. So it's like they want Texas to be sovereign, which is that they're above all else, but they want that to dictate what all other 49 states do in their states as well, which is not sovereignty.
Let me just reiterate that just so it's clear.
Yeah.
They want whatever rights Texans have in Texas to be honored and respected in all the other 49 states, right? Mm-hmm. Question. Does it go the other way?
What do you mean, does it go the other way?
Like, for example, whatever laws and rights, whatever rights that you are privy to in New Mexico, can you then go to Texas and be like, this is my right in New Mexico, so it should be my right here?
Texas uber alles is what they think.
Well, but ain't that communist?
That's what I'm saying.
Here's the problem with that, though, right? Let's say that works. Mm-hmm. And it works the same way for all the other states, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Colorado has legalized marijuana. Mm-hmm. So that means if you're a resident and a citizen of Colorado, you should be able to come to Texas and just spark up a blunt recreationally.
You would think so, but in this GOP platform, they're banning all marijuana.
God, they're confused.
They're so confused. That's why I said it just contradicts itself line by line by line. So when they say state sovereignty, remember that. They're talking about their state being able to do whatever the fuck they want. But
no other state can come do that in Texas.
No other state can do that in Texas.
Because don't mess with Texas.
But it's violating other states' sovereignty to say that Texas has to dictate what these other states do. They also want to...
Who do they think is going to respect that part?
They assume that everybody's going to do what they say because they're Texas.
I'm aware that Oklahoma will fall in line because Oklahoma is like Texas Junior. But everybody else, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. I know. They also want equal protection for the preborn. This is great, guys. Reason number 5,650. You got to read the text to know what you're dealing with and how to destroy their arguments. In this document that was adopted about a week before Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Yeah.
They have in here, they want equal protection under the law for the preborn, which is the 14th Amendment. The same amendment that the Supreme Court just said does not protect abortion. So they wanted to protect the preborn, but not to protect the right of privacy for women to have an abortion. It's very confusing. They can't decide what it is that they actually stand for.
I got how they're confused about it.
Because they haven't read the Constitution, I don't think.
Wow.
But they get the authority somehow to tell every other state what to do. And speaking of abortion rights, if somebody gets an abortion, it goes from Texas to a different state to get an abortion. Texas is basically saying it's not legal in their state. You can't have it legal in any other state. They really are trying to be authoritarian for the entire country. It's insane to me.
This just came to me in all of our planning for this podcast and whatever. It never because I know the secession is been a thing for Texas for a long time. They've always talking about like making it their own country.
Yeah. Which
I spoke to you before we started this about how that would just never work.
Right.
Because the entire United States against Texas, Texas is going to lose.
Oh, yeah.
Like, whatever. But geographically, right? They're at the southern end of the country. And one whole border of Texas is water. Mm-hmm. Geographically, they can't win a war against anyone.
No.
Because all you got to do is back them up to the water.
Yes.
What the fuck are y'all talking about? Jesus Christ.
Not only that, but throughout this entire document, I've highlighted, I could just go through this. I'm not going to read everything, but all of the ones in pink here, those are all federal laws or references to federal protections. So I did that on purpose. I went through the entire thing and I thought, and I visually wanted to represent. If they do secede, because there is a section in here that talks about taking a vote in Texas to see if they want to secede. They have not thought this through at all. But more than half of their platform that they're adopting right now would be irrelevant. It would be moot if they were to secede from the United States. They can't vote for president. They can't use our currency. They lose their state senators and representatives. They can't rely on the census for any federal funding. They lose all of the federal programs. So SNAP, WIC, all that kind of stuff that people are relying on now because they can't have abortions and then they have to have babies that they didn't plan to have. They can't have any of the welfare. This actually says that they want to cut some of those programs anyway.
Well,
they also don't want to be collecting taxes. They want to abolish the taxes. So how are they going to have revenue to pay for the programs for all of the people who can't work? Roads? How are they going to pay for roads? How are they going to do anything?
Fire
they
stations,
have not
police,
thought this through.
Whatever. But here's the next thing that they haven't thought through that you pointed out earlier, right? Mm-hmm. If they're going to hold such a vote to say, okay, the majority of the people here want to secede from the United States, which is a part of their platform. The secession is a part of their platform, right? It is. Also, going back to what you said earlier about who can vote. Every Mexican in Mexico... Every fucking Mexican.
All these illegal immigrants coming over the border, they're all voting.
Who's lived there, who has a T-Mobile address for more than 1 year, can now vote. This vote is not going to be successful because those people came to Texas to be American,
right?
Not Texan.
Exactly. They have not thought this through. How many times are we going to say that throughout this episode? They haven't thought this through. They lose everything. It's like, fine, secede. But here's the other thing. I love this part of it. They can't secede without a vote from all other 49 states saying, yes, we allow you to secede. So they're trying to own the libs all the time, and actually they need those libs to give them permission to leave the country.
You know what the funny part, though, is? I do think all the libs would just be like, fine, go. Let's see what you got.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what you got.
Yeah, sometimes I'm sure as a parent you might have had those kind of thoughts where, you know, your kid just wants to do something and you know it's gonna end badly. And
don't touch the stove. Like, you know what? Fuck it.
Go ahead.
Touch it. Let's see.
Sometimes you just gotta let them do it.
Oh my God.
And so I say, Texas, yeah, go for it. We'll see how this goes. It's not gonna end well.
It is so weird because it's like, of all of the problems that Texas has with the failing infrastructure, the grid issue that we have, people dying or whatever, like, your solution to that is secession. Didn't we have to send the National Guard down there to help them? So when they secede, who are we gonna send? Where? You're just on your own.
They are, and the thing is, there are so many companies that operate in Texas.
Who would have to leave?
They would leave.
They would have to leave.
Now, even if, if they do secede, those companies would probably have to leave. But even if they weren't forced out, they wouldn't want to stay. They wouldn't want to stay in Texas the way this kind of stuff is going.
I just thought of a fuck ton of fucking companies too. Tesla,
AT&T,
Texas Instruments.
Texas Instruments is a huge one. All the oil companies, all the refineries.
Okay, God.
Yep.
But see, the thing is, I maybe I need to stop expecting better from Texas, because they're the people who elected Ted Cruz.
I know.
And I don't want to talk bad about every single person in Texas, but y'all keep doing this, man.
They do it to themselves. Speaking of Ted Cruz, I just happened to go past this. There's this dereliction of duty on page 5 of it. A failure of a public official to discharge any duty shall be in violation of his term or his or her oath of office, which shall constitute a crime, and upon conviction, the crime shall be punishable by a fine or imprisonment, depending on the nature of the offense. Any entity or person who acts under the color of federal or state law to deprive a Texan of the rights or privileges ensured by the federal and state constitutions shall be liable to the injured parties for redress, including monetary damages and injunction relief, notwithstanding any pre-existing immunities. And I'm like, Ted Cruz goes to jail because he fled the state, fled the country when people were dying.
To deprive a Texan of the rights or privileges ensured by the federal and state constitution, which means that if for whatever reason these people can't get electric or heat or oil or whatever, that's on you. That's your dereliction of duty. Oh my God!
So Ted Cruz fleeing like he did, flying Ted, he would be in jail.
He would be in prison.
And he would be.
But you know what? As I said before, who's going to enforce these laws?
I don't know.
They wouldn't enforce it against him.
No, this wasn't made for him.
Himself.
This was specifically written, I would bet money on it, was specifically written because of Mike Pence and not going through with his duties on January 6th that Donald Trump wanted him to. This was written for Mike Pence, but it will be applicable to Ted Cruz.
To every elected official?
Yes.
Oh, God.
This is why they haven't thought this through, and they are going to shoot themselves in the foot with all of this shit.
With all their Texas guns.
Yeah.
So, since we're on Mike Pence and other previous or whatever government officials, there was a part specifically in this, and I don't know if you have it circled or highlighted.
Oh, I got everything highlighted. Okay. Which part?
It's you know what? I'd be so surprised if you could find it. Not surprised. I'd find it funny if you could find it. The part in there where it speaks of the current President Joseph whatever R. Biden. What is R mean again?
Robinette. Robinette.
Right.
I found it.
They spoke of him as the acting president. Mm-hmm. Do you see that there?
Yes.
Yes, it's right there. You didn't highlight it. It's right there. It says, we reject the certified... This is the dumbest thing I've ever read in my life. It just says, we reject the certified.
The certified results.
How do you... Can I read this?
Yes.
I'll read it slowly. We reject the certified results of the 2020 presidential election, and we hold that acting President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. was not legitimately elected by the people of the United States. We strongly urge all Republicans to work to ensure election integrity and to show up to vote in November of 2022. Bring your family and friends, volunteer for your local Republicans, and overwhelm any possible fraud. First of all, this is okay. I don't know where to start. How do you reject something that is certified?
Right?
The first 4 words, we reject the certified results. 5 words.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And why are they even...
We reject the truth. All right, we get it. Cool.
Yeah.
We hold that acting president. You know where this came from? This
QAnon.
Mm-hmm. This is feeding into what is it called? Conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. You know what? The way this is worded, I can tell that somebody from QAnon has infiltrated, is now a part of. A bunch of them are.
Yeah.
It's not even infiltrate. They're welcomed in the Texas GOP, and this goes in line with their conspiracy theory that at some point Biden will be removed because he's acting. That's what acting means. He's acting president, and then Trump will be reinstated. You know what this reminds me of? I don't know if you did like I mean, I did a bunch of religion courses, but I don't know if you know of the Millerite movement.
That sounds familiar.
It's this one guy. He was I don't remember his first name, but he was something Miller, and he had this thing where God told him the day that he would return. Whatever. And
spoiler.
Yeah. Oh, it was like 17 spoilers in a row. So he would pick a date, and it would be November 22, 1744 or 1844 or whatever, and people would gather in the woods in fucking all white and whatever, and be and then the whole day would go off. The next day would come, and God or Jesus or whoever didn't return, and he'd be like, oh, maybe I miscalculated. All right. So, and then he'd set another date, another year or another year and a half in advance. And then they'd all do it again. And then after a while, so I think there's still a church that's devoted under his name, the Millerites or whatever. That's what this reminds me of, because these people keep setting a date for when Biden will be removed and Trump will be reinstated. And every time that date passes, they just adjust it to another date.
Yeah.
I want y'all to understand, the people who are listening or watching this, that this is a part of their platform. It says acting president, and we reject the certified results. This is their document that binds them together as an
official platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
How can we take them serious?
We can't. Well, we've already proven that they don't know their own history. They don't read.
That's crazy to me.
It is crazy. And the other thing is, if they're going to secede, you don't get to fucking vote for the president. So
what are we talking about?
Yes.
You get to have your own president.
Yes. They get to have their own president of Texas, and they can be just president and all they want to.
The People's Republic of Texas.
You're right. The other thing is, if they reject the certified results of that election, Biden and Trump were not the only people on that ballot. So if you see here, I've written, who else is not legitimate? John Cornyn, all 36 representatives that were elected to the U.S. House. Let's see, Louis Gohmert and Dan Crenshaw.
John Cornyn can go, though, because he made a statement just this past week saying that we should repeal Plessy versus
Ferguson?
Yeah, which is he wants to reinstate segregation.
I don't think that's what he meant, but it certainly is what he said. It's not what he meant. He's just an idiot.
He said it.
Well, the thing is, he's comparing Plessy versus Ferguson to Brown versus Board of Education, because Plessy was overturned when Brown versus Board of Education was confirmed by the Supreme Court.
These are the people in Texas. This is what they want. I don't understand. I don't understand how It's so mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Like I asked before, if they proofread or whatever, I don't see how I could be the person typing this up efficiently, like the last person. And I'm just like, we reject the certified results.
Exactly.
And like, just keep going. Like, bro, it was certified, so that means it's legitimate.
They don't care. They're just latching on to whatever conspiracy theory is going to get them voters. That's it. These people are, But again, if other people were on those same tickets for president and vice president and all the way down, you can't just say that the presidential button was fraudulent and the rest of the ballot was not fraudulent. It's one piece of paper that prints out saying what you touched on the screen, or for the people who still have the written ballots, what you bubbled in. It's one piece of fucking paper. You can't say that the top line was fraudulent and the rest of it was not. Get the fuck out of here.
We went over that on election week when I think Georgia was the issue, or Pennsylvania or whatever. And it was just like, the state voted for whoever, but the senators were different or whatever. And it's like, I don't think you understand. You can't say that President Trump won this state, but then not the senators.
Yes, exactly. It's so stupid.
I think Arizona was one of them where they voted for the Republican senators, but not for the president, because they were like, fuck that guy.
Because Trump is such a shitbag. They were like, we're going to vote for every other Republican, but bye-bye Trump.
Yeah.
And see, the Occam's razor tells you that the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. The simplest explanation is people fucking hate Donald Trump. But no, they got to come up with this grand conspiracy theory to make sense of everything. And, there's movies out there talking about all these mules that are dropping this. No, it's not true. The simplest explanation, being the correct one, is Donald Trump is an idiot. He's an asshole. People don't like him. They didn't vote for him. Goodbye.
You know what the most beautiful thing I saw this week in regards to politics was Jordan Klepper. God, I wish I could get that guy on this show. Yes. Hey, Jordan, come kick it with us, man. Please. I love this guy.
I know, he's great.
He went and interviewed people who are like diehard Trump fanatics, right? Yeah. And about the whole election and Biden winning or whatever. And he was asking people, he was like, do you trust Trump? Do you trust Trump's family or whatever? And people are like, yeah. He's like, Ivanka? He's like, they're like, yeah. And so he showed them the video of Ivanka saying that, I believe what Attorney General Barr had said, because I respect him. Yeah. And so when he told me that the election wasn't stolen, I accepted that as the truth.
Yeah.
And immediately, all those people who were just like, Ivanka, they were just like, how do we know that's not a clone?
I know!
Fuck. Oh my God, bro. How do we know that's not a clone?
I know.
She's testifying in front of Congress. How do we know that's not a clone?
It's called a filter, because she did look quite alien-like, but it's not a clone.
So he caught them, and that's why I love this guy. He goes, she looks kind of scared, right? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, kind of like she's been caught. And then
yep, that's right. That's right.
Oh my God.
I love it. Now we're going to move on to the school curriculum in Texas. Oh, this is probably my second favorite part. So I'm going to read to you, and I'm not going to have you read it over my shoulder. I'm going to read to you because I want you to pick out which one of these things is not like the other.
Okay.
It says the educational system should focus on imparting essential academic knowledge, understanding why Texas and America are exceptional, and have positively contributed to our world. Instructional excellence shall include the following: language arts with phonics-based reading instruction, spelling, literature, and writing; civics, which includes passing the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services test; mathematics, which has correct answers and focuses on how to arrive them; science; social studies, including geography, economics, U.S. and world history. Such instruction should focus on American exceptionalism and the beliefs of free enterprise system. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, and includes instruction on the consistent failures of socialism and communism. Now, did you notice that when it got to science, they had nothing to say?
There was no, like...
Science.
It's empty. wow, and it's bullet pointed. A, this, and then whatever. B, this, whatever. C, science.
Tell me that you don't know shit about science without telling me you don't know shit about science. They had nothing to say about it because you know what? They don't fucking know anything about science.
What?
I laughed my ass off when I read that sentence.
Can I grab this?
Yes.
So
because
I totally agree with you about the science, but we already know that Republicans don't give a shit about science because science tells them that everything that they hold on to is wrong and inaccurate.
They lead with religion.
But I want to point out. So this is what section 109. I call it section 109E, line 602 in their platform. It says social studies, including geography, economics, U.S. and world history. Such instruction should focus on American exceptionalism and the benefits of free enterprise system. Just so you guys know, free enterprise system is coded language for capitalism.
Yes, it is.
That's what that means. And includes instruction on the consistent failures of socialism and communism. Guys, if you want to know what the definition of propaganda is, I just read it.
Yes, that is propaganda. That is indoctrination.
What the fuck?
Now, let's be real. All teaching is indoctrination to a certain degree. You can be indoctrinating children to learn whatever you want. The fact that they are creating a curriculum that says you have to teach American exceptionalism, that is now into the realm of propaganda. So indoctrination doesn't have to be a negative term. It just is a term to describe that you teach something and people learn it. They absorb it. That's what they know and understand.
To be fair, though, other states do this. Like not states as in the United States.
Right.
Other countries do this.
Of course.
I've lived overseas, and one of the biggest gripes when I lived in Korea, one of the biggest gripes Korean students had was that students in Japan, when they interact, whether they do exchange through clubbing or whatever, because it's a pretty close country, you can take a ferry to Japan. Mm-hmm. The Japanese children don't know anything about the Korean War and the atrocities that Japan inflicted on the Koreans, because they just decided, we're not teaching that we're shitty people.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So this is not a new concept. I'm not gonna sit here and act like Texas is the only place that does this, or America is the only place that does this. What I am saying is that when you do this, it is dog shit.
Yes. The reason I bring up the word indoctrination is because that is a hot button issue on Fox News right now, and OAN and Newsmax. They use that word. That is definitely a trigger for a lot of conservatives and Republicans. They believe that indoctrination equals what liberals want to teach children in school. And I'm just saying,
it doesn't equal what they want to teach.
Right. And that's why I said indoctrination is not inherently a negative term. Indoctrination equals you teach something and people know it. Indoctrination that is negative, that is a negative connotation, is propaganda. So if you have a curriculum, you are indoctrinating children to learn whatever subject it is that you are supposed to be teaching them. And every school board has a curriculum. Teachers teach what they're supposed to meet state requirements, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole big thing around that. But they have this entire section stating this is what you will teach your children. And it will be, to your point, that we are the best, we are the greatest. Now let me just take a sidestep for a moment. We have a lot of people who are very, very upset at the surge of people coming across the southern border into Texas. This is, again, huge talking point on right-wing media. There's a surge of people coming across the border. Let me just tell you, maybe if you didn't say that America was the greatest country on earth and that everybody wants to be here and everybody wants to come here, maybe they wouldn't fucking come here, okay? And take some accountability in this, that what you say, that people take you at face value. So stop teaching this bullshit American exceptionalism, and maybe people wouldn't flood in here illegally, okay?
You know what the funny part about that is? It's not an American phenomenon. Mm-mm. It's a European phenomenon. It's a British phenomenon.
It's a human phenomenon.
It is. We are the best.
You want to go.
Europe is the best. Yeah. England is the best. And we've come to give you our God and our philosophies and whatever. And so when you go there and you tell these people these things, they want to go where the best is. Why would they not?
Exactly. Why you want to go to the shittiest place on earth? No.
Or you want to go to the best place on earth?
Yeah.
The next thing about this that I find problematic is it says a free enterprise system which includes instruction of the consistent failures of socialism and communism. People who are listening to this, let us just say, for argument's sake, you've been indoctrinated by American propaganda or American instruction, and you believe that capitalism is the peak of human government and economic structure. Nothing about socialism is good at all. Not one point of it. Nothing about communism is good. Not one point of it. Because I can sit here and tell you, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Women were free to vote, have bank accounts, be educated, own property. About 100 years before American women were allowed to do this under communism.
Right.
Socialism, and so that's one point for communism. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that all of it is great. But the fact that it says consistent failures. Under socialism, you could just walk into any doctor's office you want and get the care you need for $13. I lived in a country that is socialist as shit, and we all had single payer healthcare. And I went and had surgery on my eye, and the surgery and the medication involved cost me $13. My eyes are fine.
Yes. I mean, if capitalism is the pinnacle of society, then I expect that Texas is going to privatize everything. When they secede from the union, I mean. So they're not going to have any of the federal protections, federal funding, federal subsidies. And that's another thing I forgot to mention earlier. This platform says that they want to take away federal subsidies for all companies. That's why Texas Instruments would leave anyways, even if they don't secede, they would leave.
Because they're not getting the tax breaks.
They're not getting the tax breaks. So you tell me that capitalism is the best, but Texas is receiving federal subsidies for oil companies and refineries right now. That is not capitalism, guys.
That's socialism for corporations.
Yes. Corporate socialism. So enough with the bullshit. Enough with the fucking bullshit. This is what happens when you have an education system that's based on American exceptionalism, not based on critical thinking skills. The best type of education you could possibly get, in my opinion, but I'm sure there's a lot that would agree with me, you learn everything, and then you get to decide what you think is right and wrong. Instead, this is indoctrination.
That reminds me of this thing. I don't know if you heard about it. There was this school in either Georgia or Florida that had like 3 different systems for their student council. Okay. And like one of them was like capitalist, the other one was like socialist, and the other one was like communist. Okay. And they had them competing to see what structure they wanted for the student council. And the socialists and communists started winning. And like the fucking I hope we find it. We can put it up on the screen. And I don't remember if it was some state or some school district or whatever. Wow. And the socialists and capitalists started winning, and like the teachers got involved and was like, no. Because all the students were just like, wait, all of us pay the same money for lunch?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Exactly. That's the thing. Some of the greatest enlightening moments I've had in my life is when I learned something that I probably would never have been taught in school if I had gone to a private school, or if I had gone to a school in Texas. I was able to stretch a little bit, and I learned other things, and I decided what I thought was good, what I thought was bad, what I thought was neutral, what I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that you can have critical thinking skills to listen to something and learn something, but not inherently believe it has to be true. Mm-hmm. This is the difference between indoctrinating people with propaganda versus indoctrinating people with education and information. Is that you want them to be able to absorb it, but not accept it as truth right away.
Yeah.
Absorb it for knowledge, and then determine if you think it's good, bad, evil, whatever. So, yeah. And then they also want the founding documents in high school. We support a high school level curriculum. with American history that is heavily weighted towards the study of original founding documents. Heavily weighted.
So they want to teach that black people are 3/5 of a person.
I guess so. And they're not
going to like that in Texas because black people in Texas are armed.
Mm-hmm. Now, part of the curriculum that they are going to take out, in one place here, they say that they want sex education removed completely.
That's helpful.
Yeah, not at all. That's a problem in itself, that you're removing all sex education.
All of it. So the kids get to figure it out on their own because we're not...
No. Let me finish. Let me finish. They want to take out all sex education in one part. Like I said, people just writing their own shit and patching it together. In a separate section, they want education on humanity of the preborn child. Texas students should learn about humanity of the preborn child, life-affirming definitions of life and the study of life. Life begins at fertilization, milestones of fetal development. You're going to teach them about fertilization, but you don't think that's sex education?
So we're not teaching about intercourse, but we're teaching about fertilization. What kind of backwards? So listen, I'm not going to teach you how to start the car, but I'm going to teach you how to drive it.
Right? What? This is fucking bullshit. This is bullshit. So, a lot of people are really upset right now, and rightfully so, because they feel like there's this huge beast of this religious indoctrination that is now becoming legislation, and it's kind of hovering over us right now, and people are preaching about how they want to create this life that, the save the babies and all that kind of stuff. It's a paper tiger. It's a fucking paper tiger. This is bullshit.
That's one of my favorite analogies. Yeah.
When you read this stuff, I know it's time consuming, but it's about the same amount of time that you'd spend watching a show. Whatever your favorite TV show is, spend one episode's worth of time reading this stuff, and then you realize they're a paper tiger.
You know what?
They're so easy to it's easy to destroy their arguments when you know what they're actually saying, not what they're saying on television, but what they actually say in written word, and it's fucking ridiculous.
We don't have a lot of time left, but permit me, and I know you don't know anything about this, I just had this nice idea. Is it possible for you to go through and just read the headings of the stuff that you've pink highlighted?
Yeah.
Can I read the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't change the page. Don't change the page. All right, so this is the Texas Permanent 2022 Platform and Resolutions Committee. The 2022 platform for GOP in Texas. And the one I'm going to start with here, it says, and I'm just going to read it. I'm not going to put anything else on it. I'm just going to say it and then hand paper to Beth and she can continue. Abolish Department of Education.
Right.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Abolish. Not like scale back,
right,
or like defund,
right.
Abolish the Department of Education.
Yes. Now, again, the Department of Education is a federal program.
And
it's a federal department.
And you can't do that because you're seceding.
Yes. Again, they really didn't think this through.
Abolish the Federal Department of Education. Are you kidding me? So I just want you to know that the GOP in Texas wants the entire United States of America to be dumb as shit, or to be educated how Texas is educated, aka be dumb as shit.
Right. There's so much in here that just, they really are not.
Yeah.
It's hard to even encapsulate this without reading all of the nonsensical things to you. But it's like they feel so emboldened. They feel empowered. They feel like they've just pounded their chest and they're just going to take over the world. And it's like, you can't even spell.
I'm excited.
You can't. The superior people really just don't even know. Like this. They say, ban on exposing minors to pornography online. Again, this is where my analytical brain goes at first when I read these sentences. The websites they want the websites to display age verification for preventing minors from accessing content. When you click on, are you 21 years or older, that doesn't prevent you from seeing porn if you click yes, if you're actually under 21. It doesn't prevent anything. They honestly, do they fucking think, or are they just stupid? That they say, if you put that age verification thing there and then an 18-year-old's not going to click on it.
That's like the captcha that says, are you a robot?
Right?
And like a robot reading it is just like, no.
It doesn't prevent, but this is the simplistic mind of somebody who just is really not thinking practically about how to actually solve these problems. They got parental rights here. Oh, wait, I almost missed my favorite part. I gotta find it though. About parental rights, man, there's just so much to talk about.
You found it?
No, found something better.
Something better. Okay.
They oppose riots. We oppose riots, vandalism, and looting and condemn such conduct. We advocate that each and every said criminal act be dealt with immediate arrest, imprisonment, and prosecution to the fullest extent of the law. Immediate imprisonment, immediate prosecution to the fullest extent of the law. And those who have been found guilty will have to pay for the property they destroyed. So I'm thinking any Texans who took part in January 6th.
I was about to say, hold on now. Hold on. Because I know where you're going. But immediate arrest and imprisonment, isn't that against the whole innocent until proven guilty?
Yeah, it's a violation of due process.
Wow, dude.
It's a violation of due process.
What is wrong with Texas?
And this is what Marjorie Taylor Greene's going on and on and on about these people have been in prison for so long and it's violating their rights and everything like that. Well, Texas is just going to make it part of their laws as soon as they possibly can to if you're rioting, you're instantly put into prison. Immediate.
So any form of law enforcement can just be like, rioter, and you're done.
Exactly.
It's like they do now when they're like, gun, and they start shooting.
Exactly. But again, like the Mike Pence thing from earlier, they wrote this for the Black Lives Matter people, but in fact, they're going to imprison their own people who took part in January 6th.
They're not going to do that. They're going to look out there and be like, oh, well, those people are white, so they're just disgruntled patriots.
When you write a platform based solely on culture wars, you have shit for brains sitting on a piece of paper.
Right. So we have a lot more to cover because this is very interesting. So I think we should cover a little bit more of this for Patreon.
Yes, agreed.
The some fun parts, some serious parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell you what, let's close this off here.
Yes.
And then have a few more drinks.
Yes.
And then get involved with some of the finer details in some of this because it's I don't understand why it has to be so ridiculous. And I'm not going to sit here and be like intelligent people don't live in Texas or intelligent people aren't a part of the GOP. I would never assume that.
Right.
Why aren't they using those people? Why do they have QAnon people involved in writing the platform? Why do they have, Joe the high school hero who went state in 1997 and could have went pro, but the Oilers or whatever the fuck didn't want him writing the platform. It's so weird to me. Like just to recap a little bit, according to this platform, we're putting Ted Cruz in jail,
right? And
he was the one up there at the convention, like Oh boy, Beth, can you please tell these people where to reach us? We don't live in Texas, thank God.
We don't, but you can catch us on all major platforms. Just subscribe, give us a thumbs up, share this video with people that you think might enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Leave us a comment, good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter.
And it is very important because, as we said at the top of the episode, as goes Texas, so goes the rest of the fucking morons, bro.
That's right. The purpose of this was not to make fun of the broader Texas population.
It's to warn what the fuck is coming.
Yeah. Yes. Well, so it's twofold, really. It's not to make fun of the general population of Texas, because most people in Texas are just living their lives and doing their thing.
82% of Texas don't believe in this bullshit.
Exactly. It's to warn people, like you said, about what's coming. and to help you guys to realize that they're not so scary when you actually read what their platform is about, because it's just bullshit. But also to empower people to actually get involved. If you do live in Texas and if you don't agree with this stuff, run for office, because I'm sure you can run circles around these guys, because they're,
You and 3 of your friends could write a better platform than this.
Exactly. And I think that's the other thing tangential to that, is that a platform should be something that reflects the values of the people, not just the party itself, but how you can better your communities. This is purely culture war stuff. This is just how they can gain power and how they can feel good about themselves. That's not what politics should be. It should be about making sure that people have food, shelter, water, safety, everything like that.
And can live to an old age with a fulfilled life.
It's a pursuit of happiness, like Thomas Jefferson said.
Yeah.
And this is not pursuit of happiness. This is infringing on people's freedoms and telling you that it's not. It's telling you that this is the free state of Texas, but it's actually really infringing on people's freedoms.
Now, we don't infringe on your rights over here, but we do ask for your participation, and we do that through patreon.com/mixedpolitics. Over there you can find a bunch of merch that you can wear, and the nice little monkey with the headphones, that's our guy.
Yeah.
You can ask us questions, you can email us, and we'll answer your questions on the podcast, or you can come back here and I was about to say DJ. Bartend, but if you got DJ skills, you might as well come do it too. We do have a session where we can chop it up with you in person, or go to dinner, or whatever the case may be. You can find all of that information at patreon.com, P-A-T on your screen. All of it.
Did you stop spelling?
I could spell it. It's P-A-T-R-E-O-N.
Yes.
Boom! And I just was like, it's on the screen, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you give back to us, and we throw some stuff at you.
Yeah.
And it's a commensalism. That's a big word.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fancy.
It's a commensalism. But yeah, well, thank you for being with us. Thank you for sticking it out.
Yes.
And we're gonna try to do this more often. It's been a rough first third of the year for both of us, and it's been hard to coordinate our times and stuff, and we apologize for that. But we're gonna try to do better and get back to our weekly or bi-weekly schedule.
Yes.
We'll see you soon.
All
I
right.
promise. I'm gonna be on it. We're gonna be on it.
Okay.
All right.
To our analysts, pundits, and experts.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh wow, you finished your drink? That's crazy. I'm on 2.
Nice.